Hey, this is Chuck Garrick from Beasto Blanco and Alice Cooper, and you are listening or watching Nashville on the Rocks.
I'm on a plane with cocaine, and yes, I'm all lit up again.
Lisa Karkos, and welcome back to Nashville on the Rocks, where we have the honor of presenting our next guest, a true powerhouse in the world of music management and entertainment. Starting off his career on the football field, he quickly transitioned to the live entertainment arena, where he worked with iconic bands such as Motley Crue, the Scorpions, and Bon Jovi. With a keen eye for talent, he signed Skid Row to his first management deal and went on to work with a multitude of other successful artists, including Blues Traveler, Liz Phair, and Buck Cherry. Not only has our guest made a significant mark in the rock music industry, but he has also broken new ground in country music, guiding the successful careers of artists like Darius Rucker, Clay Walker, and Chris Cagle. He has truly proven himself to be a trendsetter in the industry. With a resume that includes founding the Warped Tour and collaborating with industry giants like Michael Ovitz, our guest has solidified his place as a music industry legend. In 2018, our guest launched his own music and management group, One Degree Entertainment, further showcasing his talent and passion for the industry. With a history of successful collaborations and an impressive roster of artists under his belt, we are excited to hear more about his journey and the innovative strategies he has employed along the way. So, please enjoy our conversation with our friend and esteemed guest, legendary rock manager, Scott McGhee. Hey Scott, oh my God, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this
For
is
sure.
This is so
It's
much
good. It's
fun.
exciting.
It's so exciting. I can't wait. This is something that is going to be like a really cool experience for us because we're doing something a little bit different. So for our listeners, we normally interview musicians. Now you are on the other side of that, which actually I don't know if you're a musician.
No.
No, okay, but you've managed a lot of bands.
I have,
So you
yeah.
have plenty of experience in the music industry and from a different take of it, which I think is so cool. And
Yeah.
I would love to talk to you more about it. So thank you so much for coming
Yeah,
on the
for
show.
sure. Good deal.
Yeah,
This
we
is great.
appreciate
Thanks
you
for
coming
having
on,
me.
man. And I'm
For
really
sure.
excited about this one in particular because I'm kind of one of those nerdy dudes that want to know how shit works, man. I'm sure it's going to be an educational experience for me, man. So I appreciate you.
Yeah, it's
You know?
education, that's for sure.
Yeah,
right.
the backstage part of it. And so we probably should do a little introduction for you.
Yeah.
So your name is Scott McGhee. So some people are going to know you by name. I happen to know you because I'm friends with your son, Dylan,
Yeah.
who is a fabulous human being. He's hilarious. We have a lot of good times together, and he's just always super sweet every time I see him, no matter if it's like a couple weeks or a few months. Like, he's just consistently the same person.
Yeah, he is. And by the way, what you don't know, Dylan's actually a really good drummer. Or he was when he was a kid, yeah.
Is he really?
Yeah,
I really don't think I knew that.
Yeah, he spent a lot of time when he was a kid playing drums, and yeah, he's a really solid player.
I could see
very
that.
eclectic. It's funny because when he used to play drums, man, he would go from like Metallica to like some obscure artist, and all of a sudden he came up with like what was the country artist? Oh man, I can't think now. Since I'm like on the mic, Chris Ledoux. Like he was like, oh, you go Chris. I was like, well, how do you know about Chris Ledoux? But he, that was that era. They listened to so much music, and it was so he just absorbed all of it. But yeah,
Yep,
good kid.
absorbing
Yeah.
everything.
My kids are
Right
solid.
on.
No, they're
That's
great. And I've never met your daughter, but I've heard wonderful
Yeah.
things. So, so I didn't know that about Dylan, but I've known him for like since I moved to Nashville. So
Yeah.
that's such a cool
Nice.
thing. So thank you for coming on the
Yeah,
show.
for sure. Thanks for having me.
So let's dive a little bit into your background. So how did you get involved with music? You're from Chicago. Did you come from a musical family?
No, just music around me. I was the last of 6 kids, right? So my sisters and their friends and my brothers, they had, you know, their music, and music was always around. You know, listening to music. So I was listening at the time to like my sister's music that was playing, because I was too young to be able to play I didn't have music, right? So I listened to, you know, they were listening to all kinds of you know, Maria Moldauer and all these female artists and things like that. And then my brothers were into like everything from the Stones to Doobie Brothers, the Allman Brothers, and then, you know, Zeppelin when I was about 15. Like, you know, I kind of got into that part of music. So I listened to a lot of music which was going through the house at the time. My mother listened to a lot of country music and Eddie Arnold and things of that nature, right? And so there was always music around, right? But it wasn't my music. It was just music I listened to. So that's kind of where I came from. I came from a different background. My family were very athletic, very sports. My father was, right? And so the family was all about sports. So it wasn't about just music and being in bands. It was just about sports and that mentality and that, you know, kind of way of being brought up. So, but music was always around us, you know, and it wasn't
so
until I
cool.
discovered it.
Can I ask
my
you something,
own.
Scott?
Yeah, man.
When you're saying you're in sports, man, I assume that you liked watching, maybe playing sports.
Yeah.
Were you a stats guy? Like, were you one of those guys who are like, you know?
No, man. I just kind of like, you know, it wasn't like it followed a lot of sports and sports teams, because when I was a kid, we didn't get a lot of sports. You had 3 channels, right? So you either had to go to a sports game or you get to watch, you know, whatever was on, you know, 2, 5, 7, and 9. But
Right.
we played a lot of sports. That was our pastime, right? We didn't have a lot, you know, we weren't really allowed in the house during the day, so we played sports all the time, right? And Doc was the only one that really actually gravitated towards music, and he was in a band
Early
when he was
on?
yeah, and so you know, he was really the only one, and he was actually the pioneer in our family of being in the music business. So yeah,
No kidding.
No, that's
interesting.
cool.
It's interesting.
Is he the oldest?
No, I had. There's 6 of us. He was a third to the oldest. So
Okay. Right in the middle.
yeah, and I didn't really, you know, in getting into the music side of it for me was when I started discovering music myself, right? It wasn't just listening to their music. So I started really discovering and started being able to go to the record stores and listening. We were very limited in the amount of music we had on the radio at the time, right? So, and radio was kind of all over the place. So you just listened to what was on the radio, and that could have been, you know, 4 or 5 different genres of music at Top 40 Radio at the time. So it was all over the map, right? And so we listened to a lot. You know, I discovered a lot of music. So I went from like that Stones to the Allman Brothers to, Stevie Wonder, Songs in the Key of Life. I mean, when I heard that record, I was just blown away. I was probably 15 years old.
Classic.
And then I got it heavily into Bowie, right? And Todd Rundgren, Something Anything record was just like, fuck, what better record was that, right? And then I discovered like a lot of different things, like Sadeo Watanabe and Earl Klugh and George Benson and Ricky Lee Jones, like all this music that I really kind of resonated with. Like, it didn't matter what the genre was. I was like, this is just crazy good, man. It's just and so that was a time for me when it connected, and I was like, I found my own shit, right? Yes, did I, you know, Supertramp record and, you know, Led Zeppelin, that record. I mean, come on, man.
I know, man.
Forget
Classic.
it. Like, you know, and so I listened to a very wide variety and genres of music, and it was just around us, you know. It was every part of our life, I think, growing up. And I don't think that's any different today. Kids are growing up with all kinds of music in their life, but the one thing for my generation is we didn't have so many other things to take up part of our life, right? So it was, your day was consumed with what was in front of you, which was a very narrow, your schoolwork, your friends, your sports, and your music. We didn't have games, and we didn't have anything of that nature, right? We didn't have a million different ways to fulfill our day, right? So it was like, so music consumed every part of our life. And I've kind of...
No, that's interesting, Scott. Like, Lisa, we were talking about that before, where music was like your identity as well.
Yeah, man.
And how you identified with other friends. You made friends over what bands you kind of liked too, right?
100%.
Yeah, now it's
That's
video
so true.
games.
That's a
and-
really good point.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like
Yeah.
your identity was so linked to the
100%.
music. And it was one of those things you don't share with your parents. It's like it's one of those things that's
Right.
it's yours, right?
Oh no, 100%.
definitely not your parents'
Discovery
music.
was massive, man. When you discover some shit, you kind of held on to it for a while because it was yours. And once it got out there around everybody else, you're like, oh fuck,
It's stupid.
kind of pissing me off, man. Right? Like now how do you know that song?
Right. You're like, I thought I was the only person who knew it.
It was, it was a really, really cool time for a lot of different things in our life, but but it was just such a great time for me to have that in my life.
I'm not sure the age gap between you and Doc,
Yeah,
but did you kind of follow with what he was doing, or did you have your own path?
Yeah. So the age difference is 10 years.
Okay.
Right. So I was kind of going down another path. I was involved in sports, right? I was heavily involved in sports, and that was kind of a little bit of a way of life for me. It was something that occupied a lot of my time when kids needed their time kind of occupied. There was nothing else, right? It was the playground and sports, and there wasn't a lot there, right?
Yeah. Music.
Of course, and music came with it. Like
Sure.
that was all part of it, and so it was a time that kind of kept me safe being in sports, kept me off the street, all those kind of things that your parents want you to be occupied to do the right thing. But so I went down that road, and there was a point in time. I built this company called Weatherware, and I was building some things. This was post college, a few years after college, and kind of had this company going, and we were doing some weather products and some different things and covering, different kinds of items for weather. And how I got into it was just me being like inquisitive of like, I think that's going to be something that's going to be really big, cover everything from the rain, right? On fuck did I know. But at any rate, and it was cool. And my brother called me one point. I kind of got to a place I was like, what am I going to actually do? I had been involved because of coming out of sports. I was involved in some high-end insurance companies doing Lloyd's of Life policies because I knew a lot of athletes and a lot of players. And so I was like, I don't know if that's going to be my gig, but... And then I had this other company I was talking about, and then he called me up, and he had signed Motley Crue back in the day, and I had spent some time in the studio in Florida, and I spent some time in the studio with some of the things he did in summer, and then he had signed Bon Jovi, and so in 1987. Right about that time, 87, he'd call me and said, listen, Bon Jovi's blowing up. Motley Crue is exploded. I can't be in both places, but you need to go out and help in a couple different areas. Can you afford some time? My father was running Weatherware at the time, the production side of it, and I went out on the road, and it was really interesting because it was just like all of a sudden I went from the sports background and this business kind of thing to like, I'm like a fucking roadie, right? And I'm on a bus, and I'm selling merchandise, and I'm doing accounting, and I'm working with these people. And
Doing everything.
And at the time, people were like falling out. Like production managers are falling down. Because it was a tough time out on the road, man. There was a lot going on, and people were...
I could see
and
that.
they were indulged in a lot of different things. And I mean, there's no secret, but there was a lot of drugs and a lot of alcohol, and there was a lot of things that were going on, and so we had to start filling in for different people that had to take breaks.
Oh my God.
And so
Did you say this was like 87?
yeah,
like
this
that
was
year?
like
Okay.
I think at the time this was theater.
Okay.
Theater of Pain. This was it wasn't girls. It was theater.
There's a lot of stage props, man. And anybody have to carry out any like Stonehenge?
There was a lot of
monuments?
shit. let me say that there was and for me, I'd never seen it. Right, like
that must have
I
been a
wasn't listening. It
shock.
wasn't like I was just some like angel kid, whatever. But I didn't know anything about a lot of different drugs and a lot of different things. I never,
Right.
that was not my world.
Right.
But so I did that, and I spent some time on the road. I spent a year on the road and a year and a half, starting in the back of a truck, working my way to a plane with the band, and the next thing you know, like we had a couple more bands, and then we signed Skid Row.
Oh.
And
Pretty big
I
band.
got involved to manage Skid Row, and from that point, it was like, it just happened, and all of a sudden, I'm sitting here doing a podcast, right? Because there's no, I didn't have that many other skill sets, but I took a different approach in managing, and maybe that's an acquired taste approach for some, right? My sports background in the how I was raised, I kind of took that from the field and from that being coached and that mentality and that drive to my artists.
Mm-hmm.
And
Give me what's an example? I don't mean to take over this
well, I
question.
think,
it's just so
an
interesting.
example. I think an example is, at the end of the day, this wasn't going out and playing a show. This was going out to fucking win. This was
Right.
going out to be the best in the world. And if you're going to do this, be the best in the world at it, or don't fucking do it, man. Like that. So that was the approach I took. It was like, kill or be killed, right? If we played a festival, I was like, let's be the first one on, because I want to see people follow us.
Sure.
Right? Because we are going to kick everybody in the teeth. So I took that attitude towards my bands, from a work ethic to the stage, right? It was very demanding. I know I'm very demanding as a manager. I always have been. And I'm going to push really, really hard. And you ask any one of my artists, and they'll hate me for it, but they'll thank me for it. And that goes to kind of where I came from, but it goes to that's just been my approach, because that's how I was bred.
Yes. It sounds like that's what works for you.
Yeah.
And the coaching thing, I think would be a really cool idea in terms of managing someone, because you don't want a yes person on the road, because
Right.
you want the artist to do what they're doing, but they can't be everywhere and see everything at all times.
No. So, I'll give you an example, and my artists know this. You can talk to any one of them, and there's a bunch of them.
Mm-hmm.
I had no problem when they walked off a stage, because I was very in tune with what they were going on. I was very in tune with my artists, of what they could give, how they could, and I was very in tune with how much they could give and whether they mailed it in or they didn't. So I had no problem with an artist coming off stage, and when they basically mailed it in, or they just wasn't, they just didn't deliver, to say that, they would walk by, they would know, they would come by me, and I would, and they go, all right, so what is it? I was like, I'll tell you what it is. what it is I'm going to give everybody in this building their fucking money back, because they had to see that. Okay? Right? And they would say, fuck you.
Right.
Right? But they knew.
Yeah.
Right? And I had no problem calling them out. And by the way, when I made mistakes, which we all do, and I certainly have, I had no problem with my clients coming to me and say, don't do that. Right?
That's good.
Or you know what? Or you fucked that up. Right? I owned it. I owned every bit of anything that happened on the road. I learned that way, to be have ownership in that, right? So again, I always used to say to him, man, I have no problem rolling around in the mud with you. We'll all do it, right?
Yeah.
But we will do it out of love and respect, and for a reason, for a purpose, for a goal, right? So that was just the way I approached it. I'm not saying that it's right. It just was the only way it worked for me.
The accountability thing is really cool, man. How you say, like, you'll own your mistakes, and I think
Yes.
it sets an example, especially if you're calling the shots, though. But you can't be beneath the rules yourself, right?
No.
And you're setting an example, and I just think it's a really cool way to be.
No.
And if you're in a band or any type of relationship, it's pretty cool to be that way, to own stuff.
Yeah, you know what? I agree. By the way, like, I know as a manager, right? When the bus look, I have great tour managers, great production managers, great production assistants in every aspect of it, techs and everything else. But when one thing happens, in my era of managing, if the bus breaks down on the road, I'm getting the phone call, right? I didn't hire the bus company. My production manager did. That's what company. Okay, but so you got to take ownership. They don't call the tour manager or the account. They don't. They go, "What the fuck happened, Scott?" And I go, "I don't know. You're in Nebraska and I'm here."
Right.
Right. And they go, "Well, the bus broke down, so fix the bitch."
Right.
So, and now at the end of the day, so I'm going to take ownership
It's
in that.
all under the umbrella that it comes
like
back.
I always said, man, as a manager, shit rolls uphill. Okay, so because again, we're not going to get the credit. By the way, I don't want the credit. I don't want anything. I want my team to be great, right? They're empowered to be great, right? And again, I will take the blame because I'm supposed to be the manager to run the shit, right? I'm supposed to be on every bit of it. That manager, let me say that manager is gone today.
Yeah.
That manager's gone.
Okay.
Right? He doesn't exist anymore. I mean, as far as I know. It's too departmentalized. It's just not that guy.
You're talking about with the currently how things
currently,
are.
it's just not. It's everyone, like my deal was everyone's got everybody's back, right? Everyone's got everybody's back. Today it's everybody's got an excuse and is going to throw it to somebody else. And I'm saying that respectfully, man. It's just a different generation. It's just a different way. Look, man, the world has changed.
Do you think that you got more support from the whole music industry and your artists than people do now?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a pretty broad question, but the fact is like the world's changed, right? Is it for the better? Is it for just the world's changing? And that's just the way it is. The industries are changing in every industry, So I think the difference is, for me, my artists were very supportive. I was tough. They were supportive of the toughness if I signed them. I was demanding. I pushed really, really hard on my team. I pushed really, really hard on the bands. They pushed really, really hard on me. We were all trying to be the best that we could be. We all had a goal in mind to be the fucking greatest, right? And the process today has changed, right? Is it for the better? It's just changed for the time, right? I think that when I
That's
got
definitely
into
true.
the business, I went to see artists because they were the fucking greatest at their game, man. Right? They were. I don't care what genre of music it was. Could be the same genre of music. They all had this process of going out on the road and getting in bands and working their ass off and playing 500 shows. And by the time they hit the stage and you saw them, like you were like, this is, I want to peek behind the curtain, right? I want to see what this is. Girls wanted to be with them. Guys wanted to hang with them, or vice versa, right? Fuck, man, you just wanted to be like, I want to just get next to that
Close
dude.
to them.
I want to see it, right? You were just in awe, and they were great at what they did because they were great songwriters. They were great musicians. They were great. They honed their craft so well in every genre. Right? Forget the marketing aspect of it. It was in the streets, man. It was a different approach. We could go down that
That's
road
true.
forever. Like, there wasn't a big difference in the streets of the process of the hip hop world coming out of Philadelphia and that kind of world to what was happening in the New York hardcore scene. You got it to the right people at the right time, and you built it, and you made this thing happen over a period of time through this long process. Right?
Sure.
And it was very subtly you made those moves. I don't care if it was Jay-Z and how he came up, or if it was a New York hardcore band. Like, it was in the street. You got the right tastemakers, not influencers, right? And we can go down that road. But today, the process for me, and if I could simplify this in this brain that just swirls, man, is like, by the time an artist gets to be heard from a song, in some cases, not everyone, I'm not going to generalize this, we've already seen behind the curtain. We start with seeing behind the curtain, right? We're starting, artists today are showing us everything about them and who they are before their art. And not every one of them. Not every one of them.
I hear you on that,
But
though.
it's just, the process is so different. We're in a marketing, social media era, right? That you have to get popular before people will see what you want to be and who you are. Like, and all it is it's to a certain degree, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it respectfully to everybody, but it's a certain degree, it's a popularity contest. It's just get as many followers, as many likes, as many people as we can see, and then, fuck, man, if it's music because I got 1 billion followers, or it's painting, right? Whatever that gets to. And so the craft comes second, right?
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
the thing that, like, I don't you had to have 45 great songs to get a record deal. Now you have to have a fucking jingle and light yourself on fire, and you got 8 labels, right? So what the
Right.
fuck? They're like, I don't know what the fuck the guy did, but he has 2 million people following his lit ass on fire.
And
right?
who nowadays can't set themselves on fire? I can
Right.
do that.
And so, like, for me, and I don't mean to make light of it, because, and by the way, I don't want to take away from the really, really super talented people out there.
Oh, I
that
understand.
have worked through the process to get to where they're getting.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a different process. One thing I like about the indie side of the business today, and I always have, because I'm really, really left when it comes to music, is that indie artists, to a certain degree, work really, really hard. They go do that thing.
I
The
feel
majority.
that.
They go on the road, they do that thing. They ride around in vans like my artists rode around in vans. They play matinee shows and late night shows and 5 shows a week, and and that's how they become popular, right?
Yeah,
That's
they're doing
how
the
they
work.
become. They're doing the work, and that day, that era, the time, and not to stray away from where I was, like, our goal was to be on the cover of fucking Rolling Stone, right?
That's a great goal.
Like that dude's going to be on the cover of Rolling Stone. That artist, that girl, that whoever you were, man. Like that was the goal, right? Like to be at that level. They got to that level because they were great.
Absolutely.
Right? Today, you could be. You don't need to cover Rolling Stone. You got so many other outlets to be popular and to do your. And like I said, they've already opened the curtain before they've sang a song, right? And man,
That's a good point.
It's like, you have to see, the kids today want to see all the stuff, right? And then a song. And like, this is crazy because it doesn't kind of get together, but man, my artist had to have 10 top 10 singles and 3 records before you could play in front of 14,000 people. You have one song today, okay, and you're playing. People
I
are
know where
fucking
this is
headlining
going.
arenas,
Right.
And the kids go, they one song, and they're like, the fans are like, oh, they're fucking amazing. My nieces and nephews, oh, they were so fucking. He was amazing. He was the greatest thing I've ever seen. What have you not seen, bro? Like,
Right.
what are you? Because I think that there's so much clutter. How an artist could be sitting next to that has a jingle that put a song out that someone else sang and was a cover, and he is on the same line on a social media site as the biggest fucking band in the world that's been doing it forever. Right?
Right.
You know, and you're like,
What happened?
we're-
Why are these two things the same?
right. And look, there's always been more talent than opportunity to be successful, right? But it was such a unique, what's the word, like to be in the club, right? You know, an honor to be in the club, an honor to be able to walk backstage and to say hello to whoever, right?
Right.
Today, you got a kid over here that sang a song, and he's over here talking to fucking M. You're like, what? How do you even get back here?
No, it's strange, Scott. Let me
I know. And by the way, I don't mean to be, folks, I don't mean to be disrespectful to anybody, and I'm not. It's just a different world, man.
like the difference,
don't
the
think you
difference,
are.
like the difference to me, like, and tell me if I'm off or on point a little bit. It seems like it's a little bit backwards now. You were saying that they don't really need the songs until they're getting discovered, you know, until they're wearing the cool things and they're trendy, and
Right.
they kind of poke a hole through all the clutter, and then when their song happens, it's already up and going. It's like you can't really connect to them very long, though. It's like when you have that artist that you develop, it seems like you're developing an artist who has a voice in the music and a stake and skin in
Yes.
the game,
Yeah.
and then like that's what they're riding up the flagpole. It's like, this
Right.
is what we are, what we sound like. Do you connect with us? These are our lyrics. Nobody's writing songs for us.
Right.
We're good at our instruments. And then that's where the mystique comes from. You know, it's
Sure.
like you listen to the song and you're like, I wonder what they're like live.
Oh Lord,
You know what I'm
man.
saying?
Are you
Absolutely.
kidding me?
Yeah.
That whole process is different.
Yeah.
Like we were lucky if we got an album to look at to go like, wow, to read album or like that whole thing. Just to be able to peek behind the curtain was so like I said,
Exclusive.
we've already done the story right now, but I don't think. And it's just going to continue to transcend from here, because I don't think fans today, kids today, care. Right? I just don't think they care. I think that they haven't seen that, so they don't have a place to start from. They haven't. Where our generations have. Right?
I
That's why I
agree.
was saying I love the indie bands, because when I go see indie bands that are being signed to indie labels, they're fucking great. Some of them, they're brilliant, right?
Sure.
And I think that's a that's why I love that part of music. I think today kids have so much other things that it doesn't matter. That artist is only a moment in their life, and if it goes away, there's 75 more to fill it. They don't have enough time in the day with all the shit that they got going on in social media, school, and this, that, and the other, that it doesn't really matter. What we gravitate, when we found an artist that we loved, you were a lifer.
Yes.
You were in for
listened to
life,
them
man.
over and over
You were
and
in
over
for
again.
life, right? And whether it was genre specific or artist, whatever that may be, right? You were in it for life, and it affected every part of your life. I'm going to give you a really, really quick story. This is when I knew I was like, man, I'm old, right? And I was like, shit. This was only a few years ago. I signed an artist that was a must sign by several record labels, and another record label got the artist, and it was a love affair, and they were great, and the band had 7 singles, and they were this, and this is going to be a slam dunk, and blah blah blah, and they paid a lot of money for them, and a couple people in the camp really convinced me that it was the right place for them. The band really liked what they had to say, and we went from there to a meeting. This is kind of a breakout meeting. And in a breakout meeting, you have 12, 13 people, everybody from marketing, promotion, sales, all the platforms, social media. You've got the stylists, you've got video, you got everybody that's all involved, and they all have their this is what it is.
Everyone that could be there.
This is it, man. This is what it is. Here we go. And I'm sitting in this meeting, and I'm listening to people tell me that, okay, so you're up. Well, from a social media standpoint, they're going to do this, and we need to have them do that. And then they should every day go and they should do, you remember a flash mob? And they should go and sing a song and break out in a restaurant and start singing songs, and maybe their songs, and they dance. I was like, yeah, that's awesome. And then this guy from the stylist standpoint, he should dress like this, and maybe he wears a scarf and he's got a pirate's thing, and this guy should be the cool guy and he's the hot guy, and all these plans and shit, right, of everything. And then we'll make a video, but we have to start picking up the social media. We need more follows, we need more likes, and they should do some really fun things, and every day Thursday at the beach, and this one at the this, and all this stuff, man. And I'm just sitting there listening to all this, and I got to a point, and there was a couple people in the room that known me for a long time, and they're like, McGee is going to just freak the fuck out on everybody, man. He's going to freak out. So I was like, okay. So thank you all for that. I mean, it was very thorough. You guys are absolutely tremendous what you do. And I had influencers. There was a couple influencers in there at the time, and the influencers were influenced by kind of money, and this was one of their projects, so they didn't give a fuck they liked the band or they didn't like the band. They were just getting paid, and they just had a lot of connectivity, right, and they could put them in front of all the wrong people, and I was like, okay, this is really great too, so this is awesome,
right?
And so I just said, all right, I'm gonna just ask a question for all y'all, right? How many people have seen the band perform? And they were like, oh, well, I haven't really seen them. It's like, oh, okay. How many people have heard the music? The A&R person, of course, was and maybe a radio promotion person. But you can't get the radio promotion until you have a certain amount of analytics, right? So I was like, okay.
Sure.
So I was like, so none of y'all seen the band, and you haven't heard the music, but you know how to market and promote my band and position them to the world. Right? I was like, I'm fucking aged out, bro. I'm out, right? Oh. So, at that, I left that meeting, and I was like, man, and I got some phone calls from some people going like, I know, dude, it's a different world. I was like,
yeah, where's it going? You know what I'm saying? Jeez.
Well, that's what I was.
I don't know. So where's it going?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm not going the fuck with it. So, I mean, that's the deal for me. I just, it's just one of those things. I get the process. I get what they're doing. I get what their kind of goals are. I don't know what the end game is. I really don't, but whatever. But I just don't enjoy that process anymore, because I love the music too much, and I love the bands too much, and I love where they came from and their story and their grit and guts to get behind it, right? To get from the little field on the football field at Pop Warner football to playing in a stadium one day.
Right.
And what it took to get there.
Do you think that these reps and these marketing people, do you think they know what the end goal is?
I don't think that that's their job.
That's an interesting
The
answer.
job is just, let's get through today in this particular band.
So
Interesting.
I'm wondering, like, it's one of those chicken egg things. Like, is it their fault? Are they a part of the problem as far as like losing the authenticity of what music is? Like, the art is kind of gone. You know, now it's more of a marketing plan,
Like a
right? A
machine.
strategy,
Yeah.
and it's more of entertainment versus art. You know, I'm not to say that entertainment isn't art though. But are they just surfing this wave? They don't know where it's going, or is it just, you know, how do you correct it?
I think
to
it's
get
about a resume, man. I think it's about the end of the day. They put themselves on a resume because they're going to go to the next job in 2 fucking years, right? And all they could say is, I was involved in this band, this band, this band, this artist, this artist, this artist. And it didn't matter because they didn't look at, the people that saw the resume didn't look at, wow, the process of what he built. They looked at, oh man, they just did those numbers and they sold this many seats and they did this, and
They
if
don't
it
have any
crashed,
skin in the
if it
game.
crashed, it wasn't their fault. No
Right.
one's got skin in the game.
Yeah.
They don't have the skin in the game.
Yeah.
But that is
That's interesting.
that's the fucking iPhone 22,
right.
right?
Yeah,
you know,
like
we're
Lisa-
just whatever's next. Just bring it. Bring
it out.
Bring me the hottest new thing right now, and I'll run that dry.
Did you see it coming with the Napster thing? Did you
Yeah,
see it?
Say-
that's the first. That was probably right around 19. I mean, right around 2000. Right in that.
Yeah.
Right around that time, I saw it. We were all aware of it. We saw peer to
it
peer.
sucks.
We saw it go on. Everybody was like, you know, wow. I mean, look. Lawsuits were happening. People were suing everybody over rights. People were, you know, labels were trying to labels didn't want to embrace it. Of course, they wanted to shut it down immediately. So there was that side of it. The labels weren't the kids were moving faster than they could.
Than the law
and
was.
technology and the law. We had to make up. You know, so we were all. It was the wild, wild west, right, at that time, and there was no kind of parameters. We just go run wild, and kids were getting music and getting music free and whatever it may be. So it was kind of like, you know, one side of it, industry folks were like, hold the fuck on.
Yeah.
Right? And fans were like, shut the fuck up. Right? I'm sick of paying for shit.
Right.
Right? But it threw the entire ecosystem of our business off. It threw it completely off. It put it on its ear. Catalog was worth like fucking labels at that time should have just shut the fuck down and sold catalog. Right?
Yeah, that
And
would've been
because they would have
interesting.
probably for 10 or 15 years made more money just, you know, redoing their catalogs and putting stuff out in different formats and then wherever we are now. So instead of spending money on A&R and then doing all the things and making records, because you remember, we weren't in a time technology-wise where we were making records for cheap, right? Like you
Right.
can today. Right? Unless you're an AA super artist. And the reason you make records that are very, very expensive today is because you can. Right? So technology has just changed. So it's, where is it going? You know what? I don't think there is going to be an answer to it. I don't think it's going to be like, it's going to, at this particular time, we're going to go
definitive
here. Right?
Yeah.
And then this is going to happen. It's all going to come back and we find our water and it all balances out.
And once
It's not
people
gonna do
all
that.
get interested in vinyl again, we'll just start it all over again, right?
Yeah, man. And so, and so, I think that again, look, there are young kids out there today that are still finding music in the streets. I'll tell you, you know, to a certain degree, I think the urban, the hip hop world is still really, really into that discovery place and finding that thing. There's something a little bit more sincere about what they're doing than it is in some of the other genres of music.
So a
I think
little bit
the pop
more
culture-
authentic, right?
Yeah,
Coming
I think
right
so.
from their hearts.
I think so
you know?
because you know what? at the end of the day, you're not getting in that format. You're not getting in that genre of music unless you're kind of vetted out.
Right.
You know, you're
legit, you know?
You got to be more legit than that. In that true urban environment where everybody else is so into their own thing, they don't care about what anybody else is doing.
Well, and that kind of leads me into thinking about something where I was listening to a podcast, and she's a writer, but she happens to be a very famous podcaster, and she was writing and writing and writing for years, doing all sorts of things in Hollywood and on TV shows beforehand. And like they were talking about like TikTok and how, you know, there's so many talented people, which I think is correct. I think there's a lot of talented
100%.
people and talent to scale.
100%.
And she was just like, but somebody was like, yeah, there's so many talented people for like, you know, a 15-second, 60-second skit. And she's like, yeah, but the difference is put them in the room every day at it and see how they show up.
That's all they got, man.
And I thought about that, and I was like, there is a lot of truth to that this generation of people, in my opinion, doesn't see. You know, they see blips.
It's
of
like
things here
edited
and
versions
there.
of who they want you to think they
That's
are.
all the public wants.
But it's all over and over and over again.
That's all
all they
the
need.
public can
Yeah, that's all they
comprehend.
need.
That's all they need. That's all they want, and that's all they have the tolerance for. All they can comprehend because they're moving
Yeah.
on to something else. We're into
There's no longevity.
No, and we're just into the snapshot world, right? That's kind of where we are. Like,
Yeah.
there's so much entertainment, so much entertaining things, so many things to watch. Funny, I don't care if it's watching dogs do flips and cats chasing birds.
Lisa loves that shit,
it's
dude.
Fucking, it's entertaining. We all get
that's
stuck
all I
in
watch,
it.
though, like,
we all
so-
get stuck
She's
in
the
it.
reason. Sorry, Ben.
But you know, but again, that's transitioned into every part
Oh, you're
of the
right.
world.
You're
in
right.
everything,
Absolutely.
Right.
You know, there's a niche for everything.
100%. So
It's not hard to go viral anymore.
It's just, it's one of those things that it's just gonna, like, it depends on, for me, I don't want to chase that chase. I enjoyed going to, shoot Rolling Stone covers with my artist. I
Right.
enjoyed going to, the award shows with 10 of the most talented people in the world, artists in the world, and that was it. I enjoyed the club. I enjoyed the eliteness of the club.
Sure.
And that for me, to be alongside, to walk in a room and to see, Paul McCartney, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, there's a fucking Beatle, right?
Right.
And like today, you walk into a room in an event and you don't know three people. Right, and every one of them's a star and every one of them's with their
in their own right.
in their own right. I'm like, I don't even know who these people are, right?
Right.
And they're all superstars.
And it doesn't matter because it's not the same as how it used to be. It's this person's a star on TikTok. They got 20 million subscribers.
Club's gone, man.
This person's got a whatever in their podcasting world. This person's got a whatever in. I've talked to so many bands nowadays that when they're like, hey, I got a new single coming out, and I always ask them, I'm like, do you have a single or do you have an album? And they're like, oh no, it doesn't make sense to write an album.
not
I was like, you're
anymore.
right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right, because
Just-
you're not going to get anything
crazy.
back, and it is
No.
crazy. I think what we should do right now is take a minute. I'm going to get some tools together because I want to talk more about things. But on my show that I teach my guests how to make a cocktail, right? I think we talked about this.
Yes.
I'm going to teach you how to make a cocktail today. Is that cool?
Yes.
Yes.
We're going to
Yes.
have a good time.
Yeah.
You're going to be
I made
shaking.
enough of them backstage for people. I mean,
You've heard of those, right?
Yeah,
Steve?
you're part of them.
yeah.
I mean, was it a cocktail or was it just like a Jack and Coke?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. It
The
was
same thing.
you know, in the entertainment business, you're all about, like, you manage artists till the band goes on stage, and then you manage all their friends and family and everybody else for the rest of the night. And by the way, if you don't take care of every single one of them, you're gonna hear some
about it.
shit.
You're gonna hear about it.
It's you know, it's
I
before
understand
we
that.
leave, it's just funny because we're just talking about this backstage area and we're talking about these events and all these things. Like, I used to say, man, I'm just tired of this artist being like, you know, demanding and what I want, when I want it, how I want it, and fuck y'all, and close my door, and don't look me in the eyes, and I can't do this, and don't see me before a show, and
Oh,
where's my
Scott.
cape, and I'm the man, and where's my drink, and all this bullshit, right? And I want to fly this way, and you can't believe I was on an airplane and I had to. It was first class, but I was looking at the wall instead of the Sheraton. I'm like, what the fuck?
Dude, that
right?
sounds like a killer song right there.
So
Those
I'm like,
lyrics.
God damn it. I got to my hotel room and it's morning sun and not evening sun, and the ice machine was too close, and fuck me, man. I'm dying here. But you know what? At the end of the day, I kind of really respect that now, because I was like, at least the bitch is playing a stadium. And he worked his ass off to get here, and he
Give him what he wants.
Fuck yeah, you want a drink? I'll make the drink for you. I'll stir it with my finger. But that's the deal, you know, because those demands were kind of warranted.
Yeah,
Right?
no, I
They
get
were like,
that.
the fucker has worked for 20 years to get here. He's playing stadiums. He can ask for whatever the fuck he wants. This bitch over here lit his toe on fire and sang a jingle, and he's got the same demands as this guy.
No, he wants the brown M&Ms too,
yeah,
man.
I'm out. Sorry about that. This should be like an open conversation with
Holy
Scott, man.
shit.
I
Man,
love
I'm
it.
sorry.
I love it. Well, we're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back to the rest of it. And I promise I won't make you make this cocktail with your finger.
It's gonna be
no
killer.
You're
way.
going to be shaking
No
it.
way.
All
All
right.
right, we'll be right back.
All right.
Hey everyone, I'm Tom Hurst from Loud Jams, and you're listening to Nashville on the Rocks, or maybe watching it on YouTube. One of the best podcasts out there.
Okay, so we are at that extra little special part of the podcast where I teach my guests how to make a cocktail. And I kind of went a little all out with you because your son used to bartend, so I kind of figured you might have an idea of what's happening here. But, but it's not going to be bad. So I have some ice here, so let's start with that. My hands are clean. I just washed them. Now I'm going to make Dan's cocktail and my cocktail, and then you're gonna make your cocktail. So this is gonna be extra fun. So
Lord.
I'll put your ice in, and then I'll show you how to do the measurements in the ingredients. Which, by the way, I texted Dylan. I was like, I'm gonna teach your dad how to make a rye cocktail, and he thought that was really awesome. He
This is,
thought it was really funny.
Going to be interesting. I'm used to a quick shot of tequila just to get done. I don't know about all these mixtures, but I'm
Dude, well, I love tequila,
Love
and I
seeing
was
it.
thinking about that, but then I came across this and I was like, I think this will be really good. Okay, so this is the Uncle Nearest Rye. If you haven't seen this before, this is a Tennessee rye. So they are a Tennessee company. They've hooked us up with a lot of things. They have ties back to Jack Daniels. So we'll go from there. So in this cocktail, it's going to be 2 ounces of bourbon, 1 ounce of vermouth, a little bit of lemon juice, a little bit of grenadine, and some orange bitters.
right.
This is a prohibition cocktail. So it's called the scofflaw.
What's it called?
Scofflaw.
Scofflaw.
Yeah, so during
Okay.
the time that prohibition was enforced in this country, this cocktail was created in, I believe, Paris by a bartender from New York. So if I have that information wrong, sorry, but to my understanding, a lot of bartenders during the time moved to Europe so they could still practice their craft because they were doing quite well. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this jigger right here, and this is 2 ounces. You're going to take this bottle
Yeah.
and fill that to the top.
Right. I'm doing this now.
I'm doing it now.
Okay.
We're doing it live.
Doing it live. All right.
And
This
you're going to pour it right into the one with the ice.
The most sophisticated thing I've ever done is a Jack and Coke backstage for some of the guests, but I never went down this road. This was conceived. My cocktails were usually conceived in a van.
Okay, well
So
that's
am
cool.
I putting this?
Yep, you're
the
gonna
big one?
pour it
All
right in.
That's perfect.
And then we're gonna take this
All right.
dry
Look at
vermouth,
that. It's got the ice already in
ice
there.
in it, and we're gonna pour an ounce of this, and we're gonna see if I'm gonna like this too. I'm
Oh,
confused.
look at that! I'm gonna and
We'll
then I'm
see how
gonna
it
take
goes.
that and do an ounce of that too.
Yes, and I forgot. I'm making one for Dan. I have a tendency.
So you got to
forget
do
him.
you got to double up
I
on
gotta
all of
double
that.
it up.
Yeah,
Don't
So-
yeah.
forget about me, baby.
You're gonna do
yeah.
one of that.
Fucking Dan's over there going like, really?
That happens all the time.
This
Dan.
is
Got the
really
lame
awesome.
seat.
And what did I just put in here? What's this?
So that's dry
oh,
vermouth.
vermouth. Oh, dry vermouth.
Dry vermouth.
I never knew what
Here's the
vermouth was for.
Oh yeah.
They put them in martinis and
Yep.
they go, we'd like to try. You put vermouth. Is vermouth is it alcohol?
Yes, it is. It's kind of like a wine, but it's yeah. So it doesn't last very long. Like to all
like the drink.
So, yeah, for all the
That's it.
for all the shout outs for the people that open vermouth at home, it really doesn't last past like 3 or 4 weeks. So
Oh, right.
if you make it for 1 or 2 cocktails, it's probably bad. So what we're gonna do
Okay.
is, I don't know if you can see this, but in here you see these lines.
Yes, I do.
Okay, so the first line, it's like on the bottom. That's
see
a
it.
quarter of an ounce. We're gonna fill that.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's 2 lines in there.
Yes, exactly. And so we're gonna do to like the first one, and we're
Right.
gonna pour it in. Now this is fresh squeezed lemon juice. I did this.
And
at
that's
the
what I'm
house.
putting in there.
Exactly
To the first line.
Shit, I forgot Dan's again. Yes, to the
Yeah.
first. To the first line.
Dan's over
Thanks
there.
a lot, babe. I love you too.
Dan's over there tapping on the fucking window. All right, there you go. Look at that.
Okay, so we poured this in. This might be a little bit more lemon juice than we need, but what the
Okay.
fuck. So then this is grenadine. I'm not gonna make it. It's too complicated. It's grenadine is actually pomegranate juice. I don't got time for that. So we're just gonna
Oh, you mean we were going to have to crush the pomegranates? Take our shoes off.
There's the
Ah,
bucket
just
in the
now you got
corner.
to stomp on the pomegranates. This
just
is
put
awesome.
like 3 drops in.
3 drops.
Yep.
One. Oh, that's more than 3.
That's
but
okay.
That's okay.
That's all right. You can't. It's gonna be wonderful. I have to add
it's
a little
just-
more for
it's
Dan.
This is going to be fantastic.
And then what we do is it says 1 drop
Of what is
of
that?
orange bitters.
Oh,
I'm gonna do
well, that's
4.
4.
So you do
Okay.
2.
All right, they do 2.
You do 2.
1, 2.
Perfect.
There it is. Okay, good.
Okay, this is fantastic. You're already doing
Wow.
it. We're gonna take this little tin
Yeah.
with this big tin, put it like this,
Yeah.
and then we're gonna.
Oh, then you do the
shake it.
thing where don't you do the
Yep.
hit on the top like that
Yep,
thing on that?
for like 15 seconds. You can do that, but it's already on there. Most people do
Right.
it just to make sure it's on there. If they have
Oh.
2, they're like, pew,
Right.
badass. So 15 seconds until it gets cold.
Okay.
We're gonna shake it, okay?
Okay, got it.
Ready?
Yeah.
Go. Woo! Getting cold already.
Oh, this is awesome. I would throw this up in the air like they do in the bar, but it's not going to work for me. I'll ruin the studio. All right.
Freezing everywhere.
Holy shit, is that cold?
It's freezing.
Wow.
Okay.
Look at that. Now I can't
So-
get the top off, so we
You
have.
can hit the side a
anybody,
little
does
bit.
anybody have
Oh,
a
it works.
cutter? Oh, look at that.
Then you're gonna take the strainer.
Oh.
Yeah, you're gonna put
Oh,
it
I
on top of
always
that.
wanted to use one of
Yes.
these.
Now
Look
you
at
know
that.
how. And then you're gonna pour it. You got 1, so you're gonna pour the whole thing in there, and I'm gonna put half and half in this.
Oh, look at this. Look at little Billy go. Oh,
This is gonna be great.
and then,
It looks
and
like
so,
grapefruit juice.
hold on a second. After all that shit that you put in there and everything that you did, this is all you get?
This is it.
And that will be $24. So,
Yeah. Especially at the Nashville airport. Yes, it will.
yeah, exactly. Oh, wow. Look at that.
It's that hard ass manager
Here,
thing
babe.
that's coming out, Scott. With
I
the,
got
with
this.
The,
Take this. So
Man.
this is the Scofflaw cocktail.
and,
Scofflaw.
and cheers.
Cheers. Thank you so
Wow.
much for
Yeah,
having me
absolutely,
on the show.
man. This is fantastic. Thank you so much.
And
it
I-
was
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you. And I
Wonderful.
think I
Now
told
we
you right
drink some of
before.
this?
Yeah, we drink it, and I've
do
never
it.
made this too. So this is
Oh
the first
wow!
time.
Let's see how it goes.
Here, let's see what happens. Oh, it's strong.
oh yeah,
Fuck.
hell yeah. We got a pillow for your
Hold on.
downstairs,
Hang
Scott.
on, I'm calling an Uber right here as we speak. Whoa, Lord.
This is a little
What is
strong.
it? What?
That's how
So
we do it
technically
here.
it's a martini
Yeah.
because it's all booze.
Smooth.
Wow. What is that you just put in there?
A little bit of more orange bitters.
Oh yeah, like the bitters. Let me see.
I dig it strong.
Do
babe.
you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really good.
It's good.
I'm
It's-
losing
it's-
my hearing, but that's really this is awesome.
So, guys, this is a Prohibition cocktail, and this is so a lot of ryes sit at the 90 proof, 94. This is 100 proof. So
Oh, this is so fucking great.
yeah. This is the stuff. This
That's
is the
it.
stuff.
Yeah.
This is good. So, yeah, shout out
Wow.
for that. Great job on the cocktail.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Really, I would have actually
job.
sent this back to the guy whoever made it, but this is close enough.
I think you did good.
It was close enough.
One more
Well,
time. Cheers.
Cheers.
Let's ask you a bunch of
Dan?
questions. All right,
Cheers,
ready
man.
to
All right,
go.
here we go. Let's go. Back to work.
All right, here we
Back
do
to
it.
work. All right.
Dylan says, all fun, all working, no fun,
That's
no
right.
laughing.
It's all
all working,
fun and
no
games
laughing.
till someone loses an eye.
Yep,
Here we
exactly.
go.
Oh,
What as Mike Tyson said,
Woo.
it's all fun and games till you get punched in the face.
You've got quite a bit of people that you've represented. Do you want to share some stories with us?
We want some dirt,
I
Scott.
want some
I don't know if
details.
we're going to get to too much
I want the
dirt.
tea.
I gave you enough kind of fun dirt. But at any rate, yeah, again, when I got into the business and as I said, getting in and starting with Motley Crue and working my way and managing Skid Row, there was some other things musically because I'm kind of left music. I had mentioned before, like I got into a lot of different music when I started discovering myself. Everything from Bowie and Todd Rundgren and Sadeo Watanabe and Earl Klugh and the Brecker Brothers and Benson and all kinds of things apart from my family music, which I loved and was part of my life. So I wanted to experiment a little bit more, and I found myself gravitating a little bit more on the indie side and things that were a little bit left, right?
Sure.
And so from there, I signed an alt band. After Skid Row or during the middle of Skid Row, I signed kind of an alternative band. And a band called The Front out of Kansas City, and they were signed to Sony. And then I went on and signed Tracy Bonham and Liz Phair's of the world, and then I got into the New York hardcore scene. And the music
that happen?
The music that they were, all of them, I found there was something really, really creative and artistic about them. They were kind of specialists in their own way. They were kind of just from the music that they did. I've just found it really, really compelling. And I really enjoyed that side of it instead of the mainstream rock side of it, which I really loved. There was nothing better. But I really enjoyed their perspective and where they came from and how they got into the music business and how they became artists. And then the hardcore scene came about in the early 90s in New York City, where I lived. And I really kind of loved what they were about, this friend of a friend and this culture that they brought to music, stylistically. And there was a sense of community in the hardcore scene in New York, right? And so I ended up managing a band called Quicksand, and which was just, Walter Schreifels was just, brilliant guy in what he did, and had got all the accolades in the world. And then Orange Nine and Civ and Sick of It All and Youth and all these different bands that were in from the hardcore scene. And we would go and do I'm going from doing a big arena rock shows to doing matinees in Boston and taking the train to Philly and DC. And
That's super
there
cool.
was something really cool about jumping back in the van and seeing this culture that they were about, right? These kids were squatters and they were come from all these different parts of just different places, and it really kind of, I was like, and what they were singing about, was and what their message was just like so, kind of connected in their world, and I dug it,
Yeah.
right? And the musicianship, and I love the fact that these big bands like Nirvana, you know, Kurt Cobain was talking about my favorite record of the year being, you know, Slip, the Quicksand record, right? Like, you're talking about two different places in the world, man. This is a crazy juxtaposition music-wise, but it was really fulfilling, and I loved it. Walt had this idea, you know, about the Warped Tour back in the day, and we had toured all over. We'd gone to Europe and played every place in the world, and these vans with, you know, that were like luggage vans, and it was just something that was really like, this is kind of taking me back to the kind of roots of it, which was really, really cool, which I see my other bands do. And I just really kind of dug the whole culture, and from an indie sense, right? And then they all got majors, and the majors, it was, you know, it went crazy from there. But I got involved in the Warped Tour because Walter had this idea of playing drive-in movie theaters with lifestyle kids and getting like Tony Hawks of the world and all these people and all this, like, because they lived the lifestyle, and bringing the lifestyle to this festival and doing it in these abandoned outdoor movie theaters, right?
Oh, wow.
And so from there, it kind of like, you know, it kind of manifested into this other thing, and people got involved in the CAAs of the world. And Kevin Lyman, who's a brilliant, brilliant man, like, we started the Warped Tour on a shoestring, and he had a great vision from a production standpoint and putting it together. I supplied basically all my bands, and it was started with basically all my bands, and what got across the Mississippi, when we went west, we brought in Sublime, and then we brought in No Doubt. I mean, these were young bands that had they were on like Fat and records and shit that were like all these little indie labels, and kids were having a ball, and we had no real sponsors. People were giving us van shoes, and people were, you know, we had a climbing wall, and we carried around a vert
cool.
ramps, and Tony Hawk came, and a bunch of like BMX guys, and we were just having a ball, and we just were out in the middle of a field doing this shit. And I really, really, I love that time. I love seeing it happen. We were playing in the back of trucks, you know, for stages, right? And, you know, the band's in the back of a semi pickup truck, and the drummer's back there playing. We're playing it through the open back at the end of it, and he's getting his brains beat out because the fucking noise in the truck, and kids were losing their mind, and it was just a fun day, all around a fun day, and it was clean. It was cool. It was a different environment. I really enjoyed it. I went from there to some other things. I went on in life and ended up, you know, going on and working and being the co-head of Mike Ovitz's music division at AMG. He was the founder of CAA, one of the founders of CAA, and he started a company, AMG, and a big company of, you know, sports, music, film, television.
That's kind of right up your alley.
What's that?
That's kind of right up your alley.
Yeah,
with
man.
sports
And I
music.
was kind of got, like, for my entertainment learning curve, like, I got to touch a lot of different things. I brought in, you know, other divisions, and we all worked together. It was a packaging company, and I really, Chris and Mona were wonderful, and Chris Lighty was just, you know, God bless him, man. He, you know, I got to work a little with LL Buster, Missy Tweet, Ja 50, like it was Nas Noriega.
Oh, wow.
And it was just another whole part of my life, and I really, really loved being part of that and being alongside of that. That I'd signed to Universal called Buck Cherry. Well, actually, it was David's new label at DreamWorks. At DreamWorks, and they were called Sparrow at the time. And I signed them, and we just had a ball, man. It was just awesome.
What year was
That's
that, man?
great.
With Buck Cherry?
That was '97.
Holy shit.
And when we made the first record, we didn't have a name for the band because we couldn't use Sparrow because it was a Christian label in Nashville.
Let me ask you, Scott, like with the Buck Cherry thing, I remember, were they marketed as like the next band to save rock and roll? Was that their like
it was.
mantra?
It was Michael Goldstone, who's just a brilliant guy. Mo and Lenny, thank you. You know, I got to say thanks to them, man. They were great, and the team was great over there because music was changed, and there was no rock Aerosmith at the time, right? You know, at that particular time. And Josh was such a tremendous rock star. The first time I saw him play at the Whiskey, I was like, fuck, this guy is a star. And, you know, we kind of changed some things around a little bit, made some subtle changes. They just made a great, really great record. They had a great idea of who they were. Josh was, like I said, a megastar. He put another band, Yogi Lanich, another guitar player in the band, because I kind of needed that Keith Mick thing going on, man. Right?
You know,
I needed that yin and yang.
With that thing with the Buck Cherry, I'm sorry to interrupt, man. It seems like when they came around, I just thought they were like the next Dangerous band, where they brought danger
I love
to
that.
like rock,
you know?
right?
Listen, that's at the time music. There was danger in it. There was always had to be that element in it, and they lived that, you know, and I loved that, and I respected it, and so, you know, it was no different than, like, you go back to Skid Row. We put Youth Gone Wild out because it was dangerous. It was something that they had to say. It was like a teen spirit. It was a dangerous song. It was about youth. It was about kids. It was about rebellion.
Right.
It was about all of it. And, you know, I kids gravitated towards that, right? And they found that, you know, like I found
what
what I
rock
found in
and roll
music. It was
is.
rock and roll.
Rock
And
and
they
roll.
were the next thing that came around for me. I was like, that's a fucking rock band, man.
Yeah.
And that kid is a star. And he had all the great star qualities. And we marketed it really well. Joyce Castanella was just a brilliant salesperson at the time. Our promotion staff was brilliant. Everybody was just in tune with the band. The band was in tune with the company. And I that's when that was fun, man. That was just
fun.
that was the love. That was like, you know, I remember when we found the album artwork, which was this, me and Michael Goldstone were walking down the streets in New York City, and it was raining, and we stopped in front of this art store, and we couldn't figure out what the artwork was. We didn't know what the hell we were going to do with the artwork. We had 4 or 5 different drafts of it. We were holding up the record, and we looked in the back, and I was like, look at that piece of art. And it was this painted naked lady laying out, and it was a huge mural. And I was like, that's it. This is it, right? And it had nothing. I had no idea why, but we got it, and I remember Mo. It cost a lot of money to buy it. Mo was like, "Get it," and that's the cover. And the band loved it, and that was actually from a 1969 Italian kind of spaghetti western.
Wow.
Movie, and nobody had the rights to it. And Mo went out on a limb and said, we can't find the rights to it. When we get sued, we'll get sued, but let's just put our name on it, put Buck Cherry on it. And we made billboards,
Holy
we made
shit.
shit on buses. It was just such, and it was, I mean, it was just, at the time, it was just the perfect fit. When Darius decided he wanted to make a country record, man, you know, it wasn't surprising.
No?
It wasn't surprising because he comes from such a country background, you
Okay.
know, and that's his roots. I think he wanted really, I think at the end of the day, Hootie and the Blowfish to be a country band. And I think that was where, you know, him and Mark, I don't think there was a disagreement in there, but I think that the first record, there's some great country songs on that record. And so he had and that was a tough time in country music because there wasn't a black country artist for a long, long time, right? And we had a lot of challenges ahead of us, and Darius did, and he had to wear a really thick skin at times, and really kind of stay so focused on what he wanted to do and make it more about his music than the color of his skin or where he came from.
Great.
And he wrote great songs, and Frank Rogers made a great record, and Mike Dungan's team at Capitol supported it in such a beautiful way, and they embraced everything about him. We didn't have an easy go, and Darius didn't have an easy go, but he was up for the challenge, and we had tremendous amount of success. And he's he's a brother, so
Yeah.
he's like my brother. So
What kind
I
of
really
guy?
loved it.
What kind of guy is he? Not to interrupt. I'm just curious about like personality. Like, is he a really driven guy? Is he very easygoing?
No, it's not. He's not driven. It's not that he's driven. He's driven in that we used to always say he's the laziest, hardest working man in show business, and I say that respectable.
So he's very smart. Then that's the way to live,
He just
right?
knows what Darius is really, really good at kind of evaluating, like what you want to do. Darius understands how to be managed very well. He really understands how to be managed, which is part of the challenge in the whole game, right?
Okay, that makes sense.
And he really is great at. He was really great at that. Today, people and of yesteryear, I mean, there's so many outside influences. People have so many friends and family, and so much input from so many different people. It's hard to keep focused. And as a manager, I get my artists come to me all the time with, well, this guy said we should do this and this one, and my wife and my girlfriend and my cousin and my brother and my husband and my this, and they all have all the answers that none of them's ever done it before.
Of
right?
course.
But they know everything that should be done. So that's a challenge of being a manager. Darius was able to really, I think, stay focused through that and rely on the people around him to help him to be part of the team. We worked really, really well as a team. Even though there were certain things he never wanted to do, and certain things I asked him to do and pushed him to do, and there were certain things he asked me to do and pushed me to do. But that was the respect for one another. But that's how teams work, right?
Of course.
And that's why he got to where he got to, because he was very good at that. He trusted his team, right? And I think that was really important at that time in his life, right? And that's what he knew he needed to get to the place where he wanted to be.
A while back when Dylan told me, he's like, my dad manages like Phil from Pantera. I was like, I don't know why I would know that, but that's fantastic. I mean, I love Pantera. And he was like, yeah, his new band, Down. And I was like, that's incredible, Mm-hmm. So how did you get into like all of that?
So back in the day when Pantera was first kind of coming onto the scene, I was managing Skid Row, and we had brought Pantera onto Open. And I remember seeing the first night in New York City.
To a Skid Row show.
Cowboys from Hell?
Yeah.
Is that what it was?
So,
Interesting. Okay.
At any rate, I saw the band play it. I heard their music. They were on a sister label. I'd heard the music. I was like, it's crazy good. And the band guys, I think a couple of the guys were all friends with one another. And so they played the first night, Madison Square Garden, and
Jesus.
I saw them play before Skid Row went on. And I went back and said, y'all better fucking strap it on, because these people are crushing it right now. Okay, so I don't know what y'all thinking, and I don't know why the hell they're out there, but they are just kicking people's asses,
Right.
And
So you need to also kick people's asses.
So I just became a really big fan, right? And I love the band. They've toured with us, and as odd as it sounds, Skid Row, Pantera, at the time it was just so much. It actually worked. It really, really worked, right? Years later, they were blowing up, and they blew up, and on and on. And when the unfortunate things that happened with Dime and it just, it in
Tragic.
the band and the band was no longer I was managing down with Snake from Skid Row at the time, and we were doing some really great things around the country, and I loved Down. I mean, those records were just, were just killer records, and the band was great. And some years later, years went by, and I was no longer involved, and there was a lot of issues that had gone on. I was in New Orleans, and Phil was making records with or touring with a band called the Illegals.
Okay.
And
I think I remember that.
They were doing they were doing their own thing, but they were doing these sets that were kind of Pantera-esque cover sets, right? And I had seen it. People had sent it to me, and I was like, "Oh, this can't happen, man." This goes back about 3 or 4 years ago. I was like, "Shit!" It was pandemic, beginning of the pandemic. I was like, "I can't listen to that." I mean, I was just, such a Pantera fan, and not that it was there was nothing awful about it, right? And I understood it, and people wanted to hear those songs again live.
Sure.
And they hadn't heard them in 20 years live, right? I just didn't think that was the presentation, right? I didn't think that was the presentation at the time, the right presentation, and to kind of bring that back again, and if you will. And so I just got this thing. I went to see a Down show, and I was staying at Philip's house, and we just got on the subject. And one night, a few years back, I said, let's not do that anymore. Don't do it. I want to see it. Like, it was, kind of bold. I was like, oh, let's not. No one wants to see that. It's, and I didn't mean it to be, it wasn't disrespectful, them being disrespectful, to Diamond Vinny. It was just kind of like, that's not what Pantera, there's a legacy there, right? And there's so much more, and people, that band could have been the biggest band in the world, right? And aside from all the issues and all the things that went on, and we all had growing pains through all those times. So Phil and I had a conversation, and Kate, his wife, and they were putting a tour up in Europe, and I was like, we started talking about putting a band. So if you're going to do it, let's put it together. And he was like, no, I don't think him and Rex had talked for 16 years at the time, right?
Wow.
Rex Brown. And it was an incredible experience. It was just, and finding the right people and the right fit. Forget all the business side of it and the estates and the this and the that and other people that were involved and all these other people that wanted to be involved. Like, all that stuff was a disaster, was a mess. The outside noise, but we got through it, and I got to really spend some fantastic times, with Zach and Charlie, which were the tremendous fit. Zach Wilde was just,
I'm sure.
I mean, just incredible. And I've known Zach a long, long time, but never like the amount of time I got to spend for a couple of years. And Charlie, who's just absolutely one of the sweetest people in the world. And those two guys, I think if Vinny and Dime were looking down, would be like, that's it, man.
Yeah,
that was big shoes to fill. And and Philip, God bless him, man, that dude is just a brother. I love him. He had really rose to the occasion, and the shows are incredible. It was not easy. It never is. But it was something that I felt like the world needed to see again.
Absolutely.
And I really felt like fans need to see this. And it was you got to remember, this was their older brother's band or their father's band, right? And there were so many kids, particularly, we were talking about Dylan, my kids, Shayla, they only listened to Pantera music. They've never seen them play, and there were so many kids that have never seen the strength and the power that band could bring.
Sure.
And how they bring it, right? I mean, there's no better frontman in the world. I don't know, but I put him up there in that genre of music from a delivery and belief in what he does. There's no one stronger than Philip, man, and how he delivers it. And we went through a lot. We went through a lot to get there, but they persevered. And man, I love what we accomplished, and I love what they're accomplishing today.
For sure.
And it was really, really an honor to be a part of building that back again. And I hope, the fans got to see something that thought they would never, ever see again.
Oh
and
my
I'm really
God.
proud of the fact that I was able to be part of doing that.
Man,
Hell yes.
what a gift, man, for the world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think everybody, like you said, was ready for that. I didn't mean to interject, Lisa, but I just want to say that you could tell that you guys really care about the legacy of Pantera, and everybody kind of understood. And, you got those two guys to kind of
Yeah.
step in there, and they're not going to be filling the shoes, but they're just going to be doing the justice
Oh, yeah.
of
That
the
was hard
band.
stuff,
You
man.
know what I'm saying? They know
Yeah.
the legacy. They
Yeah.
know what's up.
For sure.
Perfect choice, man.
They
to
did
kinda
it
get
really,
done.
really well. They did it really,
Yeah.
really well.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, man, that is a band just, between us, that is a hard playing what Dime played and what Vinny played was, those two between, guitar and drums were like blood harmonies. You don't just feel that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
That
like
shit was done from childhood.
Right.
in the
Right,
genes, man.
Oh, and for those
Genes.
two, for Zach and Charlie to be able to do what they did, and Zach's
Right.
done it. They've done it respectfully, and they've done it to a certain degree in their own way. Charlie's spot on. Zach's done it because they're very different. Phrasing wise is very different. Everything. No, they're very, very different players, but Zach's really, really done it in a very extremely respectful way.
Tasteful,
That's great.
Yeah,
That's
pretty great.
super good.
Excellent.
Hopefully, I made a difference in what I've
sure.
done and what I've accomplished. So it's a very small amount. Maybe hopefully it meant something to the people I was involved with and worked with, and from here on out, man, I'm going for the ride a little bit and doing my new thing. Which
Absolutely.
is fun.
Yeah, leaving your mark, man, and it's like
Yeah.
the
That's
legacy
important.
thing. I think is
Yeah.
really cool, man, and the memories that you build.
Yeah, well, because that's all you got, man.
Yeah.
That is all you have at the end of it. You have these memories, and along the way on this ride, I always found that I talk about taking care of bands and taking care of their families and friends and things of that nature, because that's what it was about. You had, I've always said to the people that work with me, like, we do our best to take care of everybody in the world, my friends included and my family included, because I'm doing this, right, in part for all of us, right? For
Oh,
the
sure.
people that bought tickets or the people that are friends, for everyone to have a good time every night on the road. I don't know how we got here, but every night on the road, when that new group of people show up and to the show, that night, this is their night.
It's
Absolutely.
memories
Right?
for
And that's
other
what
people.
I always said about the bands. Look, I know you gave it your all last night. I know you crushed it for Cincinnati. But, bro, we're in Cleveland,
Right.
okay?
Absolutely.
So you have to crush it for them. And as what I do for a living, the people that would come to see the band, the fans and the friends and the family and my friends, you had to show them the best time because this was their night.
yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
They weren't with you last night
They
when
weren't
you were up
with
till
you
4 in
last
the
night.
morning and you were dragging someone out of jail or putting someone in a car, whatever it may be, right? But that's your job.
Yeah.
So either
yeah.
love it, do it the best you can do it with every bit that you got, or get the fuck out.
Is there any advice that you would give, like, new bands coming up?
No, I don't think my advice is really relevant to
To what's happening nowadays?
to where they are. I can only thing I could say is, man, like, you know what, you know, whether you want to be a social media influencer, star, whatever you do in life, you know, do it the best that you can do, and really give it 100, give it your all, like for you, you know,
Right.
for you, for who you are, and you know, again, I can't tell you what path to take, how to take that path, whatever it is, man. Just give it what you got. Give it 100%, because if you do, you'll never be disappointed.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
and,
dude.
Absolutely.
And nobody can be disappointed in you if you gave it your all and gave it your everything that there is. And I mean,
They
you
would
know,
appreciate that even more.
Yeah, I mean,
regardless.
You know, tell me,
Those
Scott,
are-
if this is what you're saying, man, this is the way I kind of take what you're saying. If you're going to be doing something, and make sure you find the value in what you're doing, make it valuable to you, so you care about it that much, and you'll be authentic. And you can just give it your all, because that's what we do in life, right? We just
Right.
kind of give value to what we value. Like we put value into things.
Right.
I think if you're going to do anything, put your mark on it, man. Right.
100%, man. And you know, the other thing too, if you can, in your life, love what you do. If you can truly love what you do, my kids always said, "You love what you do," and you know, I did. I still do. I mean, even with what I'm doing now, I mean, I love what I'm doing, and it makes it a lot easier. And there's nothing better in the world than to love what you do for a living, and I think it's really important. And if you have an opportunity to do that, and you know, try to find that path. Try to find
Absolutely.
that path at some point. We're all going to do shit we didn't like to do, right? We're all going to get there, but man, if you can ever get to a place where you love what you do, and you can really bring it. And I think it just makes life a lot easier. It makes a
Absolutely.
lot more fun, and have fun doing it. You know, you can have a lot more fun doing it if you love it.
Yeah.
Right?
You win in it. You're
and
winning it.
Everybody knows me, man. I'm going to have fun doing it.
Hell yeah.
Well, I think that that is a great point to really kind of like close on this, because I think you touched on everything that, you know, means a lot. So thank you.
Killer stuff, man.
Yeah, great. Like
Yeah.
this was really cool to get this perspective of everything. I think that really made a difference, and I think that that's going to matter to people that listen to this podcast. And for me, especially, like, I find it fascinating. You know what I mean? Just the behind the scenes, like talking to someone as yourself to what they do. So I really appreciate you coming
Well,
on the show.
it wasn't. I'm sure it wasn't very educational, but I
thought it
hope
was
that
great.
you
Totally was,
I
man.
hope that whoever
Totally was.
watches at least has fun and a laugh watching it and got something out of it.
I
But-
think so.
Absolutely. And dude, if I was in one of your bands and you managed me, man, I would be like, dude, this is the guy I want in my corner, man. Noble
100%.
dude, hard
That's
worker,
very-
man. Very inspiring to
Very
hear you
kind.
talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
very kind. And I thank you. Thank you both for having me.
Yeah, of
Appreciate
course.
it, man.
Well, let's do a cheersy.
Oh,
Thank
boy.
you so much
I'm
for
out
coming
of
on
drinks,
the show.
man. I'll put the imaginary one up.
Oh Lord.
Oh my God, you drank it already.
Sorry.
There you go.
Cheers. Thank you so much, Scott,
Uber.
for coming on the show.
Thanks.
Or as
Scott.
my son Dylan would say, nurse.
Nerd. All right, thanks for coming on the
thanks,
show. We'll
man.
see you next time.
Thank
See
you.
ya.
Bye, guys. Thank
All right.
you. Hey, you've just watched or listened to another episode of Nashville on the Rocks. If you like what we do, make sure you hit the subscribe button. And don't forget to follow us on all of our socials and on your favorite podcast streaming apps. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.